Hey, you, come, gather around the campfire, and welcome to the party. This is Party Chat, a JRPG podcast where we talk about everything that we love in the world of JRPGs and other Eastern titles. I am one of your hosts, Cameron Hawkins, and with me, as always, is my party partner, Kevin Kenson. Kevin, how you doing this morning?
I'm waking up, Cam. I'm waking up.
I feel that, brother. I feel that, brother.
This is actually it's a good thing we're doing a couple morning recordings in a row because basically starting tomorrow, day after, whatever, I'm going to be in Maryland, so the time is earlier. So
Yeah.
it's a good move for me to be prepped for that.
Yeah, I feel you for like the opposite reason because like the past two nights I have been up till like 2 or 3 in the morning to finish this game that I'm reviewing for the podcast that we're about to talk about. I have rolled credits on The Legend of Heroes Trails Beyond the Horizon. Uh took me a little over like just above 70 hours to roll credits. That's doing everything. That's doing all the side quests. That's doing some other like major. I mean, it's this kind of pseudo mandatory optional chunk of content, but in the grand scheme of things, like all the side quests, like all of the content that I
Right.
think like a notable Trails player expects to play when playing Trails. Um, and you know, I do want to say that like if you for some reason this is the first video you're seeing of ours or listening to our to us and you've never heard of Trails, you never played Trails or
Buckle
whatever,
up.
like there's good there's not going to be any major spoilers. This is not going to be obviously this is not a spoiler cast. But you're probably going to be a bit more confused than other games because this is like the 11th 12th, I don't know, like the a long running series, right?
I
It's like just so
Yeah,
many
I
entries
was going to
that
ask you that. Let's actually break this math down real quick. So there's
yeah,
three Sky games.
3, 5, 9, 10. This is the 13th entry of the series.
Lucky number. Let's go.
Yep. Yep. So this is the 13th entry of the series, and this is the third game in the Calvard arc of which is the fourth arc of the game. And you know, in in the short of it, I think this is the first game for those that have played Trails, and everyone's gonna feel differently about different entries, what have you. For me, this is like the first entry, maybe since Cold Steel 3, if not Azure, where like I'm sitting at the credits, I'm like mouth agape, I'm tears going down my face, like, and it very few games have made me like cry like that. Like um there it's one of those things where it reminds me to never doubt Falcom. Like it's one of those entries where I I again credits were rolling and I was thinking to myself, I'm so glad I'm alive. Like
What?
genuinely, like I'm so glad I exist
Yeah.
during the same time as this franchise.
Yeah. What makes this interesting to me, just as an observer, because I have put my toes into the first game, both the original and the remake, and that's about it. Uh, but last time we talked about Trails was when you reviewed Daybreak 2, and you enjoyed that game a lot. Like your overall like score was high, but you were also like, "Oh, I also think this is like the worst one in the franchise." You were like, "Oh, this is like the new bottom." It's still great. I love it because every Trails game is good, but like this is their weakest serving. So going from that to what we'll talk about where this one ranks in the franchise for you later, but it sounds like you're much hotter on this one, like immediately.
Yeah, because I think that like once you kind of know how Falcom games and specifically the arcs in the Trail series kind of flow, you kind of know like what your certain expectations when it comes to story and characters that you're getting um as when you play a certain entry. Like when you play like and this is just kind of standard, but like when you play the first entry of an arc, it's very like introductory. It's very much like it uses its time to introduce you to like all the key players of like your kind of main cast, right?
Right.
While like future games, they don't give you nor not all the time. They don't always give you like that time after. And for some that isn't a big deal. For others, that can be a big deal. And I think that this is an example of the latter where, at this point in the arc, normally depending on what route you're doing, but assuming you're doing Van, who's kind of like the main character of this arc, you got like 8 to 10 characters at a time.
Mhm.
And so like you don't, there are certain characters that I played a decent amount of in like Daybreak 1 that I never touched
Yeah.
throughout my entire playthrough. And so that's one thing that that's just kind of how Trails is, and you kind of have to come to accept is that like, oh yeah, like you're gonna end up picking your favorites, and the characters that aren't your favorites, like obviously they're gonna play their parts in the story, but you're probably never gonna play as them again
Right. There's not a lot of
unless you
like
go out
strategic.
of your way to do so.
Right. There's not a lot of strategic reasons to like, oh, you need to use this character right now. It's like as long as they're available and you like them, put them in. No problem.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
Uh,
Which is my, that's
Preference.
how I approach playing the characters I play too. So
Right. Uh, as an outsider, one question I did have about this one is that, this is part of the same arc as Daybreak, but it's also not called Daybreak, which, like, I know that kind of happened with, like, the second arc. There were only two games. They had entirely different titles with Zero and Azure. But, like, Cold Steel was consistently Cold Steel the whole way through.
yeah.
And so I'm just curious, like, is this one kind of a soft reboot point? Is this just an immediate continuation? Like, does this make zero sense to someone coming in? Like, does it feel like you're playing number three? Or is there a reason they kind of did like a name reboot on this one?
Yeah, I think ultimately they decided to do a name reboot because um they just kind of learned from Cold Steel. They were like, "Hey, we probably should have changed the name for the back half of Cold Steel cuz even more so in Cold Steel, like there's like a multiple year time jump
Hmm.
um that from Daybreak 2 to Horizon does not have. It jumps ahead of course, but like it's not like that significant. And it very much is like the third entry of this game. And on top of that, like there are some like graphical art direction updates, changes, that type of thing as well.
Hmm.
So like if you play Daybreak 2 and go Daybreak 3, like the main general aspect of like what you're seeing, it's the same, but you're definitely gonna notice that like, oh, there's been some updates here.
Yeah.
Um and so basically, I just want to talk about the premise of the story and kind of like where my mind was at as I was like progressing through the game. Which again, I'm not gonna say any like story specific stuff. Um, but I do want to kind of talk about like where my head's at, where you know, I'm kind of reeling from uh the ending of that game that I experienced last night. So basically the concept of the story here is Calvert's government is deciding to launch a rocket. And it's called Project Startaker. And the idea is to like basically uh shoot like there's like two like a test run and then a real run, and they're having like this in in the Cold Steel games, they're known as Panzer Soldats, which are basically like these like mech armor um suits, not suits, but uh
Mechs. Yeah.
yeah, like Gundam type robots,
Sure.
except for smaller. And Calvert is like basically invented their own version of that called assault frames. And so they're trying to like basically have someone from the military to basically pilot one of these things and go out into space. But we don't particularly at that time, like throughout the game, we don't particularly know why. Like the reasons for the mission, it's all under wraps. Um, and the kind of that is kind of like the general premise, and then you have three different routes that you take throughout this game, where you have Van, who's like again the MC of this arc. You have Reen, who is the Cold Steel MC. So this is like the first time he's back since Reverie, which is like 3 games ago. And then you have Kevin Graham, who is from the Sky Games, where that's when he's introduced. So really cool seeing Kevin come back, and they're all like kind of doing their own different missions. Reen, as well as like some other of the Cold Steel cast, are basically asked slash invited to um, Basel, which is the town, one of the towns where they're kind of like doing a bunch of testing for the assault frame that's being launched into space to do like a test run. But then also like Reen was like told by like his master that like he needs to meet him, like that type of thing, or he's like, we're planning to meet type deal. And then Kevin is basically on a mission from the church. He's a priest where he's trying to find information about stuff. And yet I don't that one is a lot more like straightforward spoiler heavy, so I'm not
Sure.
going to get into that one.
Yeah. He's on a
Um
mission. There we go.
yeah, he's on a mission, and he's doing his own thing as well. Um and you do get the opportunity for these characters to interact a bit in the beginning during the prologue, but then also there is a whole like redoing slash like another version of the Martian Garten from Daybreak 2. It's basically brought back, but it's like there are baddies that are controlling it, and it's called the Grim Garten. And so there's a whole like B plot going through there where the concept is very similar. It's kind of like the Reverie corridor if you've for those that have obviously played Reverie. Um, and you basically are allowed to kind of mix and match outside of the traditional parties in the main plot. And it's kind of like a dungeon crawler. You have a boss at the end. There's story stuff happening. On top of that, like you can get memento orbs, which is like a key item that will like unlock these cutscenes that will give you a little bit more lore and backstory to to different characters in the series. One of the things as well that it does that I really appreciate that they never did in Daybreak 1 or 2, as far as I discovered. I could be wrong here. They allow you to um, get connection pieces that allow you to do like the connection moments that you aren't able to choose when you progress through the game, because like through the main story, because like in each route, you have free time, you can kind of do what you want. It's there's a little bit of Persona inspiration, especially, well, it started in Cold Steel, but they even like do it more so in Daybreak. And you normally have one or two that you just can't do because they only give you a limited amount of options, like amount of connections that you can do. And so like they allow you to get a currency through the Garten that will allow you to experience the ones that you missed, which I really appreciate because I was always frustrated that like I had to pick and choose and I didn't get to experience all of them. Um, and I also just want to say in general, like I think Daybreak, or this arc specifically, is something that I would love to see Atlas take like from, because how the connections work, it's not like the the social links in Persona, where it's kind of an ongoing narrative
Right.
of this character. They're different scenarios.
Yeah, it's like
So
little
these
slices
different,
of life type stuff.
yeah, exactly. And it just like it feels a lot better. It feels a lot more focused. It actually like feels like it's relative to like what's happening in the main story sometimes. There's some things that I'm just like, why is this a connection? Like this should be this should be main lore stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's just like really high quality stuff compared to other games, and like just the idea that, and also on top of that, like, you know, the way that the star system to like get power up, like, you know, you get the bonus when you hit a star from hanging out with people or gifting them items. um that whole aspect just like feels more, uh even though like the rewards normally aren't like anything significant, it's at least something where I just feel like that there's a progression in a way where it's just like, okay, I got to like 10-star rank, there's hardly any game left, and now, and so like what was the point? You know, what was like the rewards of it all? Like what was the point? Um and so I really appreciate that, and I want to give that particular thing its flowers. Um but yeah, and so there's been a lot of questions in the plot um that have really had me kind of like, hey, like what, where are the answers here? And while there's definitely set up that like, hey, this next game, this last game is going to be the last game of the
Bizarre.
arc.
Yeah.
There's definitely some things that were just like left hanging. Some more uh, like some worse than others. Like where I'm just like, wow, like we didn't go back to this stuff at all like before the finale, and like we're just kind of like,
Leaving it hanging.
okay, yeah, just leaving that hanging.
Yeah.
Um and but there's other things that like were very very lightly hinted at things throughout this arc, where like we finally got answers for in super significant ways, where I'm again where I just like I can't ever doubt Falcom. Like I just can't. Like if you have any sort of question about anything, they explain it. And it's just so impressive. Like there are certain things where like I'm not gonna, again, not gonna get into spoilers. But one thing, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in Daybreak, in the Daybreak 2 review, I was like, I do think it's a little weird how and this was like a series kind of
Oh,
criticism.
wait, let me guess. Let me guess.
Yeah.
Weird how fast certain technology progressed.
Yes.
I remember
Yes.
you complaining about this. Yeah, because it's like they have the
Yes.
orbments in the sky, and then suddenly there's like cell phones, and then suddenly it goes even beyond that.
Yes.
Like with each game, it's like why tech is
And
really
in this
taking off.
game, they explain how it happens. They explain
Yeah,
how like all of this tech, like how technology has advanced so much over like the past like basically like near the end of Cold Steel to now. And I'm like,
right.
I did not you know, like I've played all of these, so many of these games, and I feel, but like, I still get surprised. I still get surprised where it's like, wow, they actually gave me an answer to this. I just thought that this was something that they were just gonna like, one of the few things that they were just gonna hand wave and be like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, you know what I mean? They
Right.
actually explain why technology
And
has advanced so fast.
and does it feel like an explanation that is
And it's
like
relevant to like the
right?
main story that's
Okay, so it's
happening.
something that
Yeah.
like it would have made sense like from the start, and it wasn't just them figuring out how do we in retrospect explain this. Like it is like a
No,
oh no, it makes sense.
they had to have explained it in this game.
Yeah,
They had to explain it in this game. Because again, without like saying, going into plot reasons, if they explained it in the previous two games, it would have been
sure.
it would have been like it would have like, they would have shown their cards. They
Right.
would have shown their cards into what the story in this game is
Yeah.
too early.
Right.
So like that's, yeah. They had to do it in this game. Um but yeah, so like just general story, like definitely, it might be my favorite since Azure, and like not in just as a game as a whole, but like in the sense of like the story and like when you learn the truth of everything. Um, it's it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. I do think it's like I do think that there's the interesting thing is that like I think that this game will make a lot of Trails fans who have played through the series as a whole like look back at the series as a whole and just be like, how did we get here? But not in a bad way.
Sure.
Not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
like in a how did we start with Estelle Bright and Joshua Bright out in the
Right.
boonies of Roland to this?
I mean,
Like
it only took
it's
it only took 12 more games, each of which is like 70 hours plus, right? So little time and so much has happened.
and to be clear, like there are, when shit really hits the fan in Trails, they very much like play with a bunch of like sci-fi and fantasy themes
Sure.
at the same time to very good success in my opinion. And but like this just really feels like another level. And because as you're playing throughout this game, you're just like, man, I cannot wait for this rocket to take off and
Right.
see where everything goes. And there are certain things that obviously get revealed ahead of time before that, but it's just like how everything falls into play, like how some of the players uh that play a role in this kind of, because the thing is like I wouldn't say that this is like a major conspiracy, but like Trails at the end of the day is basically a political drama.
Mhm.
And obviously with the government doing the rocket, there's a bunch of uh politics involved. But seeing like all of these characters in a specific position in this game, it's just like this is so unexpected in a way that like again you just can't ever predict with Falcom. Like
Mhm.
they the way that they're able to craft these stories is just there's nothing else like it. There's nothing else like it. And it's just I just can't compliment it more. Um but yeah, so like the story really fantastic. Um really really great needed revelations. Um I hate that I have to wait for this next game because
This is a
like and
longer wait too for this next one, right?
it's not even been officially announced. And I do think that when this game does come out, we're gonna get a worldwide release. I think that like Falcom has been taking the steps to make it so that moving forward they can do worldwide releases for all their games. But boy, man, like that the wait's gonna be tough. The wait's gonna be tough regardless.
I mean, that gives catch up for those of us that are finally going to join in. So
I Kevin, I'm so curious as to how you're gonna like how you're just gonna feel about this series in general. Like I
I
like
almost don't
I
want to start so you
wish
can keep just saying this every time we talk about
like Kevin, I wish I was over exaggerating.
it.
I know I like to over exaggerate my love for things. I wish I was over exaggerating how good Trails is. But anyway,
Yeah.
so um when it comes to the combat, um if you've played the Daybreak games before, uh the same systems are in place. The it's action turn-based hybrid. Similar to Metaphor, if for some reason you were listening to this podcast, this specific review, and you've never played Trails before. It's kind of like Metaphor, except for like Trails is what invented it and does it better in my opinion. Um, and so basically like a hack and slash, and then it ends up going into turn-based combat. Um, and you have like your boost system, which allows you to kind of use some of the different mechanics that you have. So you have the EX chain, where like if an enemy is stunned and then you're next to another teammate, you basically can do like a team up attack, which is really cool. Like that, like Daybreak 2. I said what I said about Daybreak 2 at the beginning of this podcast. Like that inclusion from Daybreak 1 to Daybreak 2, game changer. Like absolute game changer. Like such a small thing that just makes combat so much faster and smoother. So really glad to see that back. Two of the new features that they added is called ZOC and Blitz. ZOC is implemented in two different ways, both in the field battles, which is like the real time combat, and then the turn based combat. So in real time, basically, you press, I think it's just R3. No, it's L3. No, is it L3 and R3? Yeah, you press buttons and it basically like slows down time.
Yeah.
You're basically like slowing down time. It allows you to like have a bit more success with the field battles because like even though I do think it's the better example of action turn-based hybrid, like it's there's still like certain aspects to the real-time combat that I feel like could be polished up a bit and feel a bit better. But the ZOC like just makes things a bit easier, which is nice for those that want it. And then in turn-based combat, if you use two boost bars, it'll basically allow you to go again. Like you do one action, you get to do another, which is nice because it can be utilized in different ways. If you like have two people down instead of, I mean, you don't have a spell particularly to get everyone up, which is, there's only like one in the entire game that does that anyway. You can use two items to get, both people up during your turn, which is nice. And then Blitz is basically just a way for them to implement the outside party members more. So like because you have your party of four, and then you have like reserve members, and so your reserve members will basically like jump in and do like a follow up attack if they have blitz on it.
Mm.
Very straightforward and simple, but I appreciate that they're like trying to utilize all the characters as best as they can with the system that they have. Um, and so yeah, those are some really neat additions. They also added Awakening, where basically you press both both sticks, and you basically whether you're Van and you basically go into your Grendel form, which is like your armored form, or if you're like Kevin and you use your Stigma, it basically just makes you more powerful. It gradually increases your life. It's just like, oh, if you're fighting against a powerful enemy and you're having a little bit of a struggle or you just want to use it, you can just but it does use your boost bar in real time.
Mm.
So when you transition to turn-based, that boost bar is basically going to be gone. Um, so very cool, neat additions for sure. Um, yeah, and like ultimately, I think. Did you have any questions so far?
No, I mean I've asked a couple things here and there as it's come up. I was going to segue us to combat at some point, but you got there yourself. I'm glad we made it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel good. I have one main question, but it's really kind of for the end of this review. So if there's any other bits and pieces you wanted to finish up before we get there.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's it's tough because one, like, I'm talking spoiler free,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, and there's only so much you can
And
do. Yeah.
yeah, and when you're talking spoiler free for a game that is
Number 13.
very beloved for its story, and the combat is like, the combat is
Good.
updated, but not
Yeah.
by a significant amount. There's not a whole lot to talk about.
Sure.
Um, but in general, like very, very glad to like. I think that this is probably the most like random jumbled up cast of characters in the series so far. You
Right.
have like representatives from like everywhere that are like actively in your party, which I think is really cool. Like obviously that happened in like Reverie, but that was like the kind of grim garden of this game. That was like not the it was much more of a focus, I would say,
Right.
in Reverie, or like Trails third versus this game or Daybreak 2. Um, so
With
very cool.
with cast
Yeah.
of characters, because I know, as you were mentioning, like this one brings back a lot of people from past games, and I'm sure that leads to a very large roster overall. And I know it's also because you switch between main characters. Um, is there are there any like new people at this point in this game, or is it like no, we're greatest hits on this one. We're far in enough right now that we're not going to introduce anyone in this game.
Party member wise, I mean, Kevin returning is huge, is like the big thing.
Sure.
Um, like brand new introduced in this game,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, it's just we've got too many. We're juggling enough characters as is at this point. They're basically like new arcs are when we get new characters by this time now. Like,
Yeah, basically.
yeah.
And honestly, like I think that's smart. I think
Mhm.
that one of the pros and cons of Cold Steel is that Cold Steel is an ambitious arc. Like I still think it's the weakest arc by far, but it's ambitious because they are handling so many characters.
Mhm.
So many characters. And I think that they learned from that experience, and so that they decided, okay, like we're going to dial it down a bit, and on top of that, like we're going to separate like these arcs or like these characters so that like it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel as overwhelming when it comes to the cast, because like
Right.
with Reen's arc you have 5 people or 4 people technically, and then like a support member, and the same thing with Kevin's arc. So you don't have like, it's not like you're the whole story, you have like 20 plus people
Sure.
around with you,
Yeah,
like,
because it's switching
you
between.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. And so very good quality of life, learning from your
Right.
past on Falcom's end.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I think that there's there and man, like there's some stuff from literally the first 2 Sky games that
Thumbs up.
are like, oh wow, like this is from second chapter
Yeah.
that like you're showing me right now, and how it all connects and it all makes sense, and it's all like, it's just like, how do you do it? How do you craft a world like this, dog? And then there's just even some, just like some general like narrative payoff where one of the main characters in the Sky games, Jin, we knew that he's from Calvard, right? And so like in this game, you actually like get a bit of like, you finally kind of get more about his backstory in a significant way. And it's just like that's 20 years later, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we're finally getting like some more backstory behind this character in a way that not saying I yeah, I would probably say I wouldn't have expected, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's really, really great, and it's really rewarding for someone who has, like, played through the series, um, that Falcom is able to, like, just weave all these, narrative threads together. Um, and yeah, I overall, I guess, again, it's really hard not to say anything without going into spoilers, but
Right.
it's just a really, it's a really incredible game. It's really, really great. Um,
So I guess that leads to
I I guess I'd like to say, like, if I had to have like like if I had to have some cons, I would say that I wish the it's not even like cons. It's just more like man, I wish the launch stuff was a little bit closer. Well, like it like happened sooner.
sure, just
Um
pacing wise, like you kind of have a lot of build up
Yeah,
towards
just because
that moment.
I was just like, okay, when are we gonna get to this? And oh, one thing I will say, and this is a very minor thing that I don't think many people will care about, but this is something that I take notice of, especially when they like really throw it in your face. Um, the sense of time in that game is crazy. Like it's crazy because you know they'll when the next day starts they'll tell you like what time it is, and then like they'll tell you like, oh, we need to do this at this time. And so it's like, all right, we're gonna do our like morning shift. We're gonna take on all these side quests. And it's like, there's no way you did all of this in 4 hours. Like, there's no way you did all this in four
It took
hours.
me 17. Like, what is
Yeah.
that?
No, yeah, and yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, again, very like inconsequential,
Sure.
but something
No,
it
classic.
distracted me.
Yeah, classic time
Yeah,
dilation in video games. Yeah. How did you
it
go?
really it really
You
distracted
went to
me.
another country and it was yesterday and there's no planes. Like, what is?
No, it's
Yeah,
not that bad, but it is just one of those things where it's like you have like 2 or 3 side quests
sure.
on top of travel, like your
Yeah.
travel time. It's like,
And you do it during a lunch break in universe or something, and it's like, that's huh. You're very efficient.
um, but yeah, I guess like the last thing I'll mention is just like uh, you know, the Grim Garden. If you played Daybreak 2, it's very similar. They've added like an arena simulator where you can do like different things. Like there's a fishing simulator, there's a battle simulator. Gives you like a few different things there. I honestly didn't play with it a whole lot. I did play with the fishing simulator just because I needed it to finish a side quest. There's only one side quest in the game where you need prerequisites, and it's for the fishing. And so you have to have caught most of the fish in the game. I think it's like 22 or 24 or something like that. To be able to do the last quest in the game, or the last that specific side quest.
Yeah.
And so that was a little bit of a tangent that I had to go on. I was just like, why can't I do this quest?
Gotta keep the
um
fish.
yeah. Oh, and also one thing that's like interesting to me too. Um no, this is more of a spoiler. It's not like a major, like it's not a major story spoiler, but it is something that like I just don't.
Yeah.
I'd rather not
Yeah,
mention.
no, we can leave it out. We can leave it out.
Yeah. Well, it's all good.
So
Um,
I guess
yeah,
in
go ahead.
summation, uh, my big question every time you end up reviewing one of these is like, where is this in the tier list? I know this can change, and I know you're kind of riding off the high of it right now. Still, like you finished it literally uh, 6 hours ago. um, but are we, and you don't have to give me a specific number. There's 13 of these things. You don't got to be like, oh, five. But like,
No, no, yeah.
are we breaking into top five? Are we kind of somewhere in the middle? It definitely sounds like it's not sitting at the bottom like Daybreak 2 was. But like kind of where are we thinking in tiers here?
That's tough. I I think it does sit kind of like in the. I would probably say it probably sits in like the low A, high B range for me. Of the series,
Yeah,
like like series at large, like saying that it's like high B is still saying that this is a 9 out of 10 game minimum.
sure.
Like
Yeah.
it's
So
so good.
you're putting it on like the middle high side is what it kind of sounds like.
Yeah.
Like if we
I
were
would.
doing ranks, it's probably like 7 or something, like 7-6 in that range.
Yes, and I will say that in general, I think, and some people may not feel this way, which is fine. Even though I love doing the side quests, I love like the world building as I'm going throughout. The major story stuff, like with every Falcom game, is so back heavy.
Mhm.
It's so back heavy. And I think that this is one of the biggest offenders to that.
Mm,
Where you get seeds into what's going on, but it's really not until like the last like 10 to 10 to like 15 hours.
you just get exposition dumped. Yeah.
Depending on like what way you go with the routes, because you can choose which route you want to start. Normally, I'm just like whatever it defaults to, that's the one I'm picking. Because there
Sure.
were times where like uh it would default to not not the top one, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna do this one now. Like, and I think that that made sense narratively for me. Like, like everything, like I got to points where it's like, oh yeah, this would have been a little bit weird experiencing this first versus this.
Sure.
They are pretty like in their own bubble. Um, when in the sense of like it doesn't really interact with the other routes, but still like just kind of like the revelations and stuff. Uh, and so like the seeds are definitely planted, but it was just one of those things where they keep on mentioning the launch, and I'm like, boy,
When we
yeah,
getting
that
there?
launch. When is it happening?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
60 hours
Um,
in. Here we go.
yeah, and it's there's some again there's still some really good, really important moments before the finale. Um, but I do think that it's a little bit autopilot-y for a bit too much of the game for me. That I would probably, I that does like hurt the game, the game a bit for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would probably say like low A, high B, because like the ending like made me tear up. Like I'm like, there's obvious things. wh- there's obvious things that we know it's going to needs to be resolved,
Sure.
but I'm also just like, but I just keep thinking to myself like, man, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's really really great. So oh yeah, I would probably say like I do think that this is my favorite of the arc so far. Daybreak is like shortly behind it though. Like it's not like
Sure.
uh and again, it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Like
Yeah.
because you do get like like the more world building of Calvard, you get the introduction of the characters, and you get like these uh dedicated chapters to really focus on these characters in a way that this game doesn't. So it really just depends on kind of like what you like want from Trails. But I think that this game does a really great job at really kind of hammering the idea or the fact that this series is on its way out. Like that
How
this
many
series is going to end soon.
Sure. How many arcs are we supposed to have left, or do we not know? Like, do we
We don't know.
know we don't know if there's one more arc after this or two, or I can't imagine it's more than
So
two.
Kondo normally says, "Oh, this percentage, the series is this percentage complete," and it
Uh-huh.
like all he either he'll either release a game and say the same thing, or he'll just like change the no.
Sure.
It's very uncertain, but like I think I would be surprised if there's more than like 3 or 4 games left.
Yeah, like we finish up this arc and then there's like a final arc that's like 2 to 3 games.
Yeah, and like what that looks like, not sure. Don't know if
Sure.
it's going to be like a culmination. Everyone's coming together for all of these games, which would be crazy. Would love it, but that is something that I think that like there are definitely certain characters that you have to bring back, like for a finale arc like that. But we'll have to wait and see on that.
All right.
Yeah, really great game. Uh, I can't wait to like talk to my Trails friends and be like, "Dog, that ending though, that was crazy." um, and just kind of like I was already talking with my buddy James from RPG site because he knows Japanese, so he played it
Mhm.
when the Japanese release
Yeah.
happened.
No, James has always been very ahead on those games.
Yeah, and I remember you were with me at the Game Awards where he was just like that cliffhanger is worse than like Cold Steel, and I was like, I do not believe you. He was totally right. He was totally right. I concede that. He was totally right. I beat the game. I'm sitting with my feelings. First thing I do, I pick up my phone. I go to James's Blue Sky. I DM him. I'm like, I apologize. You were so right, dog. um, yeah. So, Kevin, do you have anything left for the people before we dip out?
No, not as part of this review.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Well, everyone, the wait for the next Trails game, well, new Trails game, is going to be a long one. And but hey, at least we have Trails in the Sky second chapter. Um, remake coming out. Remake of the best Trails game, if you ask certain people, and one of the best JRPGs ever made, if you ask certain people.
Yeah, not Cam. Cam hates that one, but there's
No,
people that
yeah,
say
fuck that one.
that.
Yeah, there are people that say that. All right, everybody, you can follow me on socials at CamFinalMix. You can follow Kevin on socials at Kevin Kenson. Thank you so much for listening to this review. And until next time, we'll catch you later.
Later.